So this is like weird. My face got really red. Last Thursday, I was at work and I had like a headache. So obviously, I'm just jumping right into the story. I don't know how to preface this. So I went, like, I decided to leave work and I went home and I took some Excedrin migraine. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll lay down for a little bit, which is like the first like red flag in this story because I am not a napper. I like never napped since I was like a toddler. I don't even know if I napped as a toddler. I mean, it's sarcasm. And I actually laid down and took like a half an hour nap, which was like really weird, but you know, I woke up, felt better. Dom came home, we went outside and we went for a run, came home, took a shower, and when I got out of the shower, I was like really cold, so I put on like full sweatshirt, sweatpants type of deal. But like came downstairs and was like full on just goose pimples everywhere, freezing. When it wasn't that cold then, so it was kind of strange that I was so cold. So I was supposed to start making dinner, and I kind of like just sat down and wasn't feeling very well, and was starting to feel like a little feverish. So the rest of the night kind of just was like, eh. And then we like went to bed, and throughout the night I started like cycling between being so cold and like shaking and shivering and like not wanting to move even an inch, like having to pee and refusing for like 45 minutes to get up and pee because I'm so cold, and it just like not being able to get up, to then cycling to being so hot and sweating. And so I'm like going through these cycles, and every time I was really cold I would think I had a fever, so I would ask Dom to take my temperature, like we're in the middle of the night here too, and it was coming back like normal, but I was never taking my temperature when I would get really hot. So finally, I feel like I'm going crazy because he's like, you do not have a fever. And I'm like, something is wrong. I decide to take it when I'm really warm, and I have 101 fever. So at least, hey, validation, I wasn't crazy, I had a fever. And I had a really bad headache still. So I had like taken medicine, nothing's working, I have a fever. Finally, I like went downstairs, and then like when Dom woke up, I just like, I think I need to go to the doctors, which I haven't been to the doctors in like 3 years. I don't go to the doctors. If I need something, I go to Med Express. I just don't go to the doctors. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I just don't go to the doctors. Decided now I really need to go to the doctors. My brain felt like it was not getting oxygen. That's how bad like this headache was. I was feeling fever. Like I've never had a fever and a headache. Googled, which never Google, a fever and a headache together. And I was looking more like, should you go to the doctors? And it was kind of like, yeah, which I had a feeling it was going to. So I went to like my primary care doctor, and I saw the nurse practitioner there. He was like, I didn't have a fever when I went there, and you know, they're like, it's probably, you know, it might be like the flu, it's not in season yet, but you never know, type of deal. And I was having neck stiffness was the other thing. Like, I was just all over. I mean, you're in pain when you have a fever and a headache. Like, everything hurts. Specifically, though, my neck was hurting me. So, you know, they're just like, watch out. Like, if it gets worse over the weekend, call us. Like, let us know. But it, like, might just be something that needs to run its course. So, I'm like, all right. I feel like crap. Okay. So they leave, and then the nurse practitioner actually comes back in and goes like, hey, is there like any chance that you could have been like bitten by a tick, or like you've been outside? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I go outside, so I'm not going to say there's no chance. I live in Pennsylvania. So she was like, I want to test you for Lyme disease, and I'll call you tomorrow and let you know like the results. I'm like, sounds good. Anything at this point. So I go home. I was like feeling better during the day. My headache has never left at this point. And then like that afternoon, my fever like starts coming back, and I'm like just cycling. That night I cycle all night long. We actually end up staying downstairs so I could like sleep on the leather couch, because like when I'm cycling, even though I'm like get really cold, then I like get get really hot and it feels good, whatever. I'm like dry heaving. This is the worst. I want to tell you the worst 2 nights of my life were these like cycling fevers. I have never felt this bad, plus with like a headache where your head feels like there is a rubber gum band like around it. Like when you put a gum band on and it cuts off the circulation, that's what felt like what was going on with my brain. And it's just like throbbing consistently, lights bothering me. I am feverish and just incredibly sick. I would wish this on no one. And I don't know, I dreaded the night because the night would get so bad. So we did that Friday night, and Saturday we had to go get our marriage license. We had to because we tried to go on Wednesday because they were supposed to be open late, but we went, drove downtown, parked, paid parking, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not open anymore. Wednesday's late. So, update your website. 1. I feel like this is going to be a long story. Sorry. So we had to go Saturday morning because you have to go do this, and we're getting married in 2 weeks, and you have to do it beforehand, but not too beforehand. There's that whole thing, the dog. Hold on. So we had to go get the marriage license that Saturday. We go, we get it, we do it, okay? I'm feeling like absolute dog crap. I look like this. I've probably looked like this since then. Whatever, it's done, okay? We make it home. I am like going through a cycle again. Again, it's worse when I'm like shivering. So we like get home, and that's starting to happen, but we have to take Chip, the pups, to the camp. So there's this place called Camp Bow Wow. It's where we're gonna board Chip when we have our wedding. For the 2 nights we're at the wedding, we're gonna board Chip. He's never been like boarded before, and they wanted to do like a social interview thing to make sure he's okay with other dogs. We had to take him to that because we're boarding him in 2 weeks. So it's all centering around the fact that we're getting married in 2 weeks, and you got shit we have to frickin' do. So, and I really wanted to take him to that because I really wanted to see the place that we were going to board him and see what was going on. So, bundle myself up, and we take Chip to the place, okay? So that's all good. So then we go, we get soup, Dom gets lunch, and we go home. I go home, I eat a little bit of soup, but I'm feeling like crap. At this point, I am kind of like crying to Dom and saying, I think something is wrong. Medicine's not working. I'm like consistent. At this point, I'm having like a fever during the day. I think like I had 100 fever. It was like going back and forth. It would like go down and then go back up. My head is freaking hurting. And I just kept feeling like something was not right. Like this was not right. Whatever this was, it didn't feel like a normal sickness. I hadn't heard like back from the doctor or anything. And I'm like, maybe we should go to the ER. And Tom's like, yeah. And we were going back and forth. I really didn't want to go to the ER. I hate doctors. I hate hospitals. So we were kind of undecided. And then he had to go pick Chip up from the thing, and I was not making it there. So I decided to lay down when he went. And I lay down for like 20 minutes. And when I like woke up from that 20 minute, I felt like I was dying. And I hate using that term, but I felt like I was radiating a heat that I've never radiated before. My head, I could not move without it hurting. I was very, very nauseous at this point. I don't know how to explain to you. You feel like death. I happened to check my phone and I realized the doctor had called me. When I listened to her voicemail, she kind of, I called her back. She called back and she's like, hey, your Lyme's test was negative, but she'd been trying to reach me and didn't have my number but had my parents and called them. She's like, your parents said you still aren't feeling good. And I'm like, I feel like I do not know what to tell you. Like, this is something I've never felt before. And she's like, maybe you like should go to the ER. And I'm like, I've kind of been debating it. And she's like, what's your temperature? And I'm like, last time I checked, I think it was like 101. We were waiting for it to like go to 102 before we went to the emergency room. And so I'm on the phone with her. I put the thermometer in my mouth and I'm looking down, and it's like I see it going up, and it's like at 102.5, and I like get off. I'm like, it's one. She's like, go to the ER right now. So call Dom, who is not home there with the dog, and I'm like, talk to the doctor. We need to get, my temperature is 102.5. We like gotta go to the ER now. He starts freaking out. So he was like a couple minutes away, comes home, puts Chip like in his crate and is like, we're going. This point, I am slightly delirious. I can't look at light. I'm just looking down. You're in like a surreal state. When your temperature is that high. It's weird to look back on it now and see like how like you are a zombie and you don't realize it. So she called ahead for us. We get into the ER. Really, it probably explains a lot of my weekend. Get into the ER, and they take my temperature, and it's 103. I don't know if any of you have ever had an temperature. I personally have not. And I'm like, what does this mean? Because to me, this is like big. So they're like asking me questions, and I'm like going over everything. You know, told them, like, went to the doctors, got tested for Lyme's, like, this is where we're at, I'm hurting. So they think I have meningitis at this point. So in order to tell if you have meningitis, they have to do a spinal tap or a lumbar puncture on you. So what a lumbar puncture or spinal tap is, sticking a very long needle into the back of your spine so that they can drain or take some spinal fluid, because that's the same fluid that's in your brain, to test if you have meningitis, because meningitis is swelling of the brain in probably not so great technical terms. I'm not a doctor. So can you imagine having 103 temperature and a headache and then telling you that they're going to stick a needle in your spine? Whatever. It was one of the hardest, most uncomfortable things in the world to me. I'm not even going to... the doctor, where we went, Farmington Hospital, is freaking amazing. I can't say enough of the people there, the doctors there, and how awesome they were in this whole experience. Kept apologizing to me because I was you're so sensitive at this point that I was crying out a little bit, like whimpering out in pain, because I have a needle shoved in my back and it feels very uncomfortable. Like, do I have to explain that to you? But apparently it looked good. So this is where my brain gets fuzzy, because I had like dropped in temperature at one point, came up with 103. I think we got it down. They had given me like Tylenol fluids. I don't know what they gave me. You would have to ask John. I was very out of it, to bring it down. And then all I know is at one point throughout all of this, they're like testing for things, that some point in this, I remember puking, like saying down like, oh, I'm going to, like puking, and then them being like, oh, it's okay because we're going to be admitting you. They're admitting me into there and we're going to be leaving this room. And then that's all, folks, that I really remember from that night, which is Saturday night. I guess it rose back up to 103. They've been giving me stuff. They've been taking me stuff. I had 2 IVs in me, of just stuff. They're like pumping me with stuff for my headaches, for whatever they thought was going on. I don't even remember at this point. But the crazy point at this point is like, doctors kept having, like, I remember people like kept waking me up and I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And they were like asking me questions, like they'd been doctors. So it was at night. Things are crazy. I like thought I had dreamt up some of these doctors, and it wasn't until the next day that Dom was like, no, those people were real. And I was like, wow. You don't realize you're out of it until like then, I guess, like the next day. So like Sunday, I'm there all day Sunday. I'm cycling again. I have another 103 like spike. They gave me CT, which was one of the worst experiences of my life, because when my fever was starting to go back up, and they finally like took me out of bed and sat me up, and I felt like I was going to die puke. Plus I was freezing, shaking literally as they take me to CT. My one like IV was bad, and that's one that they needed to use. And then it was a full-blown ordeal, one of the worst experiences of my life. When I get back, we're like calling the nurse, because I'm like, I think my temperature is back up. Finally they come in, and it is, and so it's at 103 something. So they're literally putting ice on me, which I thought was a myth. Like when people are like, oh, when your temperature's up that high, you need an ice bath. No, it's real. They're shoving ice on me. So we like ice me down to get my fever down. They have an infectious disease doctor come in and say like, I don't think it's meningitis. Everyone's asking me all the same freaking questions all over again. I'm explaining the story like you wouldn't believe, and they cannot figure out what the frick is wrong. I was on antibiotics though. when they were thinking it was meningitis or these other things. So I was on antibiotics. So finally Sunday like afternoon is like the first time I felt better after I like got rid of that fever. I started feeling better. I still had my headache. They were giving me headache stuff like every 6 hours. As much, that's like when they could give it to me. So that was still there, but my fever was like not going up as high, so that was good. So I stayed over again Sunday night and Monday, and they got an echo on Monday. That was like the last thing they wanted to check, and they like came back good. So they're like, it's probably just a viral infection that was like really bad, and you have like a tendency to get migraines. So those two things combined is what happens. Like we can't see anything else, so we're gonna stop the antibiotics, and we'll probably discharge you in a little bit. At this point, I am feeling pretty darn good. Like my headache's like a 3. They keep asking you like 1 to 10, what's your pain? We were at like a 9 when we got there, and we were like chilling from 5 to 9 while we were there. We were finally down to a 3, so I was okay with it. I was ready to go the frick home. Once you feel better, you want to get the F out of a hospital as soon as possible. So I was like, good, fine. It's a viral infection. It was real bad. We got it. So whatever, discharged at like 3. I get home and all I wanted to do was take a shower. I had like 5 pounds of fever sweat in my head. I hadn't showered since the Thursday that started this. We're on Monday. It was bad. It wasn't good. Yeah. So I get home and I'm like, Dom, like I think I want you to like sit in the bathroom with me while I shower, because I'm very unsteady still at this point, like very weak. Like this whole weekend Dom had to like literally brush my hair for me, feed me drinks, like pull my pants off for me so I could pee and pull them back up. Like it was not my finest weekend. This like beautiful fiance of mine proved once again, like he didn't need to, that he's the best. I said, can you please like sit in the shower with me? To top this like all off, when we got home, there was water in our basement because it rained in Pittsburgh. So Dom was cleaning that up. So originally I was just going to shower by myself. But I really didn't feel like, I was like, I'm just going to wait for you. So I get in the shower. Oh yeah, you thought the story ended when I left the hospital? Of course not. Got in the shower, showered, felt amazing, was like the best shower of my life. And I get out and Dom's like, turn around. And I literally was like, no. And turn around and I had like a rash on my like butt. I don't know why I keep saying like my back butt. No, it's on my ass. This like bullseye looking rash. And I just start bawling my eyes out because I don't want to go back to the hospital. And that rash meant I had to go back to the hospital. So Dom says at this point he realized what it was and didn't want to tell me because he didn't want me to be upset. And even though I think I kind of knew at this point that it was Lyme's, and I really didn't want it to be Lyme's. Even though at this point, like I still don't really know what Lyme's is. I mean, like I do, but fully, like I don't think you know anything until you go through it. So we go back to the ER that I had just left. I'm calling that nurse practitioner who had originally thought it was Lyme's. And a lot of the doctors when I was in the hospital kept asking me, like, do you think, like, about Lyme's? And I'm like, I don't know. We tested it and it was negative. And they said they would, like, test again for it because they were taking vials upon vials upon vials of blood on me. So we're going back to the ER and I'm like, I cannot get 1 more ounce of blood taken out of me. I don't know if you can like tell there. Not like this one is the one that they had to keep using because this one was such a mess. They have to go and like these ones, but this van had like I could not give any more blood. It is so hard when you like finally leave the hospital and you're so excited and you get home. That was the biggest like high to get home and like shower to the biggest drop to have to go back. But it's like a good thing. So we go back. I'm trying to call the nurse practitioner. I like left her a message and we get checked into the ER and she calls me back. She's like, it's Lyme's. Like it is. We must have just like caught it early and that's why that test was negative. But as soon as you said a rash, it's Lyme's. And I'm like, okay. But I was in the ER, so she's like, just, have them like verify. But if for some reason they don't think it is or like won't treat you for it, I'm just going to treat you for it. So I get in there and I have to now re-explain this whole story of how I was just there. But I showed them my ass and they're like, yeah, that's Lyme's. So I guess because it was so early and because my test had come back negative, but I was showing all the signs of it except for that freaking rash. And it was because they started giving me antibiotics, which is what you take to get rid of Lyme's, that I got better. But because they stopped the antibiotics Monday morning, that the rash then came. So I have antibiotics, and that's, yeah. So it was Lyme's. I said that nurse practitioner knew from the get-go, which I do not know how, that it was Lyme. And she just said because migraine, the high fever, and the stiffness in my neck. So I have Lyme's disease. I don't, I read up on it. I know the earlier you catch it, the better, but I know a lot of people catch it late. Part of my problem is I have no idea. I have no freaking clue when I got bit. I don't know how I got bit, where I got bit, when I got bit, what it is. It is literally mind-boggling to me. I do live near woods, but I'm not in them. And the only thing I can think of, chips, we sprayed chip for it, unless it was on chip. It got on me and I had no idea. I have no freaking clue when this happened, where it happened, why it happened. But it did. So we're here now. This is Wednesday. So in this whole story, Monday is when we officially found out it's Wednesday. I'm on antibiotics that are making me pretty sick. In all honesty, they're making me very nauseous. I don't know. With Lyme's, and I know it affects everyone differently, for me, it's a constant headache. I have a really bad ear pain, constant, not constant in the sense it's happened all the time, but not constant pain here, but it will be a shooting pain that keeps me up all night. I'm nauseous. I'm really tired and really achy. It doesn't help that I'm getting married next weekend, and I just lost a whole 5 days of my life that I had a lot planned to do for the wedding, and now I'm very overwhelmed and and on top of all of that, I'm in a lot of pain. I know Lyme's is this really common thing apparently, but not in I don't know. I know it affects everyone different, and I literally don't have words because I start getting upset because it's this hard, this thing that it could have been so much worse. I understand that. I got all these tests done and all these things that could have came back. I pretty much got my whole body checked. I got CT scans of my abdomen because we thought it was appendicitis of my head. Got an echo. I've got blood tests done for everything in the world, and it all came back negative. So it's a very good thing. But it's still hard. And I said, I'm just being selfishly sad right now because I feel a lot of other people the week before their wedding having this excitement and doing things, and I'm sitting here feeling my body's just fighting itself, and I am just tired and sad. I wanted to go to Target yesterday to pick something up, and it took me 2 hours to work myself up to feel okay enough to leave the house because I was so nauseous and so sick. And then when I was out, I would get fever chills still. It's my fever consistently always wants to come back. So that's one of the reasons I'm saying that my appearance is so bad. I have nothing inside of me to want to do anything. Now, even as we're speaking, I have to feel myself to make sure, because we have to make sure if I get a fever, I have to go back. Yeah, so I don't know. That's what I've been dealing with these past few days. It was just very unexpected. I'm happy it happened this weekend and not this coming one, the weekend right before I'm getting married. I still have time to get better, hopefully, and just be okay with everything. Thankfully, I have amazing, awesome coworkers who were took over for me. So that was hard too because this was supposed to be the week I wrapped up everything for work. So there's all that. honestly though, like, shout out to Forbes Regional Hospital and all the nurses and doctors and just staff there for being so freaking amazing. Like, sometimes I don't know what I would have done if some of those people weren't so nice and caring and like loving towards me during this point in time, because it was like really hard for me and I was like not feeling well, and it's very hard for me to ask people to like get me things like water consistently and like do things for me, and I was just trying to like make light of it, and they are very beautiful people, so thank you to that for them for that. My family, who have been freaking amazing. This is when you like realize too, I have a lot of people who love and care about me, and just like my coworkers, my family, my friends have consistently just been like, what can I do for you? What do you need done for the wedding? Like, probably this wedding would like not be what it's going to be if it wasn't for the fact that I have like family and friends who are dropping a lot of stuff to make sure that like my stuff gets done, and it's just going to be a part of me like utilizing it, because that's hard, like feeling like I feel bad because it's like you have a life and you have things you need to get done, and I don't want to take that from you, but I just need to understand that and utilize it and rest, which is hard for me. So yeah, I don't know if you have Lyme's disease or you know someone who does, like I'd be really interested to like hear about it or like know. I just hope it goes away. So that's what I'm dealing with, and then we're gonna move on to like better stuff, fun stuff. I think this was even a lot longer than I meant it to be, but yeah. Sorry to bring you down, but I don't know, here we are. So, now I'll put like my glasses back on. I don't know, sometimes I do think it's helpful for me to talk about it, especially when I've been really sad, like the last few days about it. So, talking to a camera of no one helps, because I feel like I'm talking to no one, and then I upload it to people, and I don't know, because this is something that I didn't know was such a freaking thing. Like, this is the thing, and it's really freaking hard if you, like, have the symptoms and are going through it. And I just, like, catch it early. I don't know, or if you having it, or if you've gone through it, like, God bless your freaking soul. I don't know why. Things you should have learned about in high school. I don't know, in PA, it should have been freaking ticks and Lyme disease, because baby girl wasn't ready. So there's that. All right, we're moving on from sad, depressing situations, because I can't do it for long periods of time.